YouTube. Today I wanted to share some tips on saving money and putting some money back into your pocket. My first tip is about looking around your house and finding the things that you have purchased in the past but never used. For example, when I was previously working on getting a house ready for market that I was going to sell, I started out by looking at all the things that I had in my home, because clearly I did not want to move things to another home that did not need to be moved. If they were trash, if they needed to be donated, returned, whatever. But what I found was I had a lot of things in my house that were for projects that I meant to do that I never ever completed. I had items, a lot of my items were things from like the Home Depot or Lowe's, where I had bought things to repair stuff in my home, maybe outlet covers or other random things that I had purchased, and I had never used them and they were sitting in a drawer. I ended up taking all those items. I went to Home Depot and to Lowe's one by one, and I gave them the items and I said, I don't know if I purchased them here, but can you please check and see if they were from your store? I ended up getting back about $100 worth from both of the stores together. And they didn't give me the $100, but they gave me store credit, which was still very helpful, because if you own a home or you're doing home repairs, then those things are obviously going to come up in the future. Something's going to break and you're going to need you can use the credit to then purchase things to fix your home. So that was what I started with. So I suggest that you start going through your home. Maybe you're into crafting, or you were into crafting. Maybe you're into home repairs. Maybe you're into just other activities that you thought you would do and you never did. And if at all possible, I would take those items back to the store and see, one, can you return and get your money back? Because some stores can look at your credit card and figure out if you bought it from them and give you the money back on your card or in your bank account, or at least get store credit so that money is just not wasting. So next time you need something, you don't actually have to come up with the money. You actually can use the store credit, which is what I ended up doing, is using the store credit to buy the things that I needed to repair my home. So I'm going to say take a good look. So if you have a project that you want to start in the future, don't keep the stuff around, because you don't know that you're ever going to do it. I think so much of our clutter that we collect in our home are things that we want to do, that we hope to do. My advice would be that you take the items back to the store, and in the future, if you decide to do that project, you can always go and buy those things. But don't keep them around for if I do it, when I do it, because you might need the money right now. This is a good chance. Maybe you need something in your house repaired. Why are you leaving these things lying around when you could just get the money back? And my second piece of advice is to take the things that are lying around in your house that you have purchased, maybe pieces of furniture, maybe dishes, all sorts of things that are household products, maybe a lot of gadgets. A lot of people tend to buy like Instant Pots and a lot of kitchen-y gadgets and don't use them. My suggestion is that you put that item on Facebook Marketplace. I know people don't really use Craigslist anymore, but try to use Facebook Marketplace and put those items on there and try to bring those, try to sell those items and get the money back. Because you need the money for the things you need now, not these gadgets that are cluttering up your house. They're creating more work for you, more things that you have to clean around. So you could take that money and buy things that you actually need right now. And this is like, if you have needs, then instead of spending more money that you don't have, take the things in your house and start selling those things. I did that back then I was using Craigslist a lot. Facebook Marketplace was not that big, but I continue to do that, and I still list things on Facebook Marketplace. I even go as far as listing plants that I don't want, and people come and buy plants. I had like a lilac plant I had bought, and then I realized I can't grow it here. I get too many deer. The deer eat all the lilac plants. Somebody came, she purchased it from me. She even dug it up herself and took it. So there are a lot of things that you can sell. You'd be amazed at what people, if there's a need for it and you list it, you might be able to sell that item. There are websites like Mercari or Poshmark for like the higher end items. I personally have not used those websites to actually sell anything, but if you have something that's of high value, then that's obviously an option. So that would be my second piece of advice, is to basically empty your house of things that you no longer need and that are just cluttering up your house and creating more mental clutter for you to look at. My third piece of advice is stop wasting money on food. Statistics say that the average American throws away 30 to 40% of what they buy every week. You need to start going to the grocery store with a plan and not going to the grocery store just purchasing things. That's how I used to be. I used to go to the grocery store and I said, I generally know what I buy, and I would just buy those things. And a lot of times they would be wasted because I would never get to them, especially like fresh produce. They would get wasted because I never would get to to actually cooking them. So go to the store with a plan. You'd be shocked how much little grocery you'd buy if you actually make a plan. The first thing that I would do is honestly sit down. I would have a food budget. So if my food budget was $100, I would actually sit down and say, these are the 7 dinners I'm going to make this week. I didn't generally plan for breakfast. Breakfast was one of those things that we could generally do. Even lunch, if we were going to be home, then I would plan for lunch. But sit down and decide what you're going to make for those 7 days, and then come up with the ingredients that you need, and then shop your pantry first and see if you have any of those items. Other suggestion that I would actually have is to just look through your pantry anyway and make an inventory and see what items are there. I would look at every item that I bought and say, I bought this for a purpose. Like if I have Chinese noodles, what did I buy them for? What did I think I was going to make? Maybe it's time to get to making those and getting them out of the house and not letting things spoil. So I started looking at everything and saying, I must have bought this for a purpose. Either I'm going to use it for that purpose and get the item used and out of my house, or I'm going to come up with another purpose for it. But if you start using the food that you're bringing in and not wasting it, that's another way to put a lot more money back in your pocket. And I realized how much I was wasting when I was walking through the store without a plan. The next suggestion is to give up a habit that is costing you money. It might be a trip to Starbucks every day. It might be smoking cigarettes. It might be maybe your hobby is to go and buy craft supplies. I read a quote that said there's 2 kinds of hobbies. There are people that buy craft supplies, and there are people that actually do crafts. So I was one of them. I bought a lot of craft supplies, and now I'm actually purging a lot of the craft supplies because I never got around to doing the crafts. So look at yourself realistically and say, am I really doing this? Am I really going to do this? Stop. If you're also into like sewing, stop buying more pieces of fabric if you're not even finished with the items that you have. Just look at what you're doing. There are things that you are doing on a day-to-day basis that you could stop doing and save yourself money. These are tips that are geared towards people that are really trying to buckle down. Maybe they don't have enough money to make ends meet. If you don't have any money in your budget and you're trying to get yourself out of debt, or you're trying to save up for something, then these are things that you can do. There's the steps you can take. Not always are they easy, and I always say that saving money is not easy. It's a lot easier to just continue to spend money without thinking about it. Just like you got into debt by buying maybe a lot of small things, it's going to take a lot of small steps to get out of debt. My next suggestion is about driving. You have to be really mindful, especially these days with the gas prices rising, to not make unnecessary trips. You need to start looking at the trips that you're making and writing down. I basically have like a whiteboard on the side of my refrigerator, and I write things that I need so that when I'm ready to do my errands on one day, I'm running and doing all those errands at one time rather than spending time going to this errand and then running this errand on a separate day. You need to start combining those things and being really mindful. A lot of saving money is about being mindful, and on groceries, on gas, all those kinds of things. Because the reason I'm even talking about these particular things like groceries and gas, because a lot of our budgets are made up of things that we cannot change. Your mortgage is usually set at a certain amount. You can't change it. Your rent on an apartment would be set at a certain amount. Like your car payment is set. So there's a lot of things you can't change, but you can change how you grocery shop. You can change how you use gas. My last tip is not necessarily a money savings tip. It's more on a tip on how to set aside your money. Now, I understand this is maybe a little bit more difficult to do this year because prices on everything are going up. But what I normally do is if I'm getting a pay increase, I look back and I say, okay, let's say I'm making $50,000 last year and I'm going to make $52,000 or $51,000. I look at my pay and I go, well, I was managing on $50,000. So I can continue to manage on $50,000. I don't need to then use $52,000 because the next year when you make $54,000, you'll learn to live on $54,000. So you need to start looking and saying, well, I was managing on $50,000. I need to learn to continue to live on $50,000 and take the extra money from my raise and put that aside. I think that's a really good habit to have and realistically look at it, because we tend to increase our lifestyle as our pay increases. And I'm saying don't increase your lifestyle. Just continue to live on the amount that you're living on, and the money that's coming in now, stick it in a savings account, or if you're paying off debt, start taking that money and paying off debt with it. But don't just say, well, now I'm making, I'm going to get extra $30 a paycheck, so I go spend extra $30. So take that $30 and either put it aside where it comes out of your paycheck before you even see it and goes into a savings account. And if you're paying off debt, take that money and then pay off debt. Put it in your budget and start spending that money on paying down your debt. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope some of these tips will be helpful to you. I would love if you would share your money saving tips in the comments below. I think we learn from each other, and I would love hearing some of your money saving tips and what you do when times are tight. Please like and subscribe and help me out with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you.